Hey guys, welcome back. And also, welcome to the newcomers that happen to stumble upon my channel. Today's creation is a construct, and it is based off of a campaign book that I am currently making called Eyeless Skies, or maybe Crimson Skies. It's still in the work. The overview of this encounter is they were made to be guardians to protect one of 3 artifacts that the players must retrieve in order to aid their battle against the final, big bad. And I wanted to do something very unique, and I'll be sharing that later. So if you watched any of my other videos pertaining to sketching and also drawing out characters, I start with a basic shape after I have brainstormed and surfed through the internet to gather ideas. I was going for a worn out looking stone/metal feel. Wanted the head to look like a knight's helmet. Kind of give it that gallant feel of being a noble protector of some sorts. And then adding the rags to it to give it more of that feel of age. These constructs were made long ago, long before the players will have any encounters with it or them. As you are watching, you can see that after I make the basic shapes, I lightly fill in everything as I do when I render out. And then I'll take a softer lead pencil and then I will just start to add on more layers to create some of that texture. There was a lot of back and forth as I was creating him, which is pretty typical with most of the pieces I do. Not only do I use a soft lead pencil to mark down the textures and the detail, I also do use my eraser and erase any spots that I would want give the illusion of light hitting or reflecting, or just to lighten up some areas if they are too dark. I then go in with a smudge tool or a smudge stump, and I will start to soften up some of that hard graphite. There's a point where I needed to add some mood, and what I had done is added a shadow to the left side of him. Just wanted a little bit more dramatic feel, give it some depth. And what I also do with the cloth, I will make little lines in them, and I will try to make those lines flow with the cloth to give it the illusion of it flowing, I guess, in lack of better words. But I am still drumming up the backstory, the lore to this encounter, which not finalized, named the Fenkala Vanguard. And I will read some of that to you. Keep in mind this is from my book I'm creating, so there will be a lot of names and other things in there that don't really pertain to this particular piece. But let me know what you think. Here it is. Long before the rise of Zeroth and Sadremdel, a powerful civilization known as the Vask-Tori thrived. The people were master artisans capable of creating intricate constructs and powerful magical artifacts. The most skillful of the people were commissioned by the ancient line of Magi and the Order of Fenkela after the defeat of Zeroth to create a safe for one of the 3 artifacts used against Zeroth. One such artifact, known only as the Heart of Ta-Toa, was a source of immense power, one of the 3 artifacts used against Zeroth during the Crimson War. The Vask-Tori crafted an immense temple to house and protect the heart, a sanctuary hidden underneath the glass desert where now Sun Vault Harbor stands. This temple, known as Vask-Tori's Safe, was not only a place of marvel, but a secure vault designed to ensure that only those who truly understood the artifact's purpose could ever access it. this being the Order of Fankella and the ancient line of Magi. But protecting the heart from any potential intruder required more than just traps and cunning. It required something far more formidable, something that could withstand even the mightiest of forces. Thus, the Fankella Vanguard were created. The Fankella Vanguard were constructs of terrifying power and precision, created by the finest artisans and mages of the Vaskatori civilization. They were built as perfect sentinels, silent, unwavering, and nearly indestructible. Designed with a mix of divine and arcane magic, each Vanguard is an amalgamation of enchanted metals, ethereal energy, and celestial protections. The Vanguard were not created to be mere constructs. They were imbued with ancient consciousness, a sort of sentient will, ensuring that they would never fault in their task. These guardians were not bound by the typical weakness of mortal creatures. They were immune to damage both mundane and magical weapons, their bodies shielded by an energy field that could not be penetrated by spells. They stood as perfect sentinels, motionless until activated. When the Vaskatori vault was sealed and abandoned, the Vanguards went into deep status, waiting the day when the safety protocols of the temple would be triggered, as they were designed to do. Their activation would signal that the vault was under threat, and they would rise to the challenge to all those who dared to seek the heart. Still work in progress, but I feel like it has a good base. So these guys aren't indestructible. I do gotta hash out some of this stuff. I'm thinking, because the whole idea was it wasn't really a battle. It wasn't going to be a combat encounter. It was more or less like getting chased throughout this temple. And there would be obviously puzzles and different kinds of things that would alter within the temple to kind of like trap them so the players could escape. Or, temporarily escape, I suppose. Almost like, Nemesis and Resident Evil. You just and Tyrant. They just follow you around the whole time. Can't really get rid of them. That's kind of the feel I was going for with these guys, but maybe I'll stick with that. But another idea was maybe they had, these energy shields are powered by, like, let's say, something within the temple. The players got to find them and maybe destroy them, or, maybe bring these objects closer to these Fankella Vanguard, and maybe it like short circuits their energy field or whatever, and then they're vulnerable for attack. Let me know what you think in the comments below. But I just wanted these guys to be like, a unique battle or a unique encounter with the players. Bring something new. I'm not quite sure if anybody else really has this kind of concept for any kind of encounters in their campaign books, or if anybody has ever run something like this, but I'm always trying to find different ways and bring uniqueness to, things I create. I don't do these for all my pieces, drawing and then I paint over them. I do love to do it, but, time. But I wanted to, I keep seeing, so Peter Moorbacher, right? I seen a video that he recently posted on YouTube. It looks like he's kind of resurrecting his channel again. And his method of painting is pretty intriguing to me. He uses that method of gradient maps, and I believe, Photoshop obviously has it. And then another program also has it, and I can't remember what it was. But the whole idea is to scan in your drawing and then separate the, the outline from the paper background. And then entirely sure exactly how he does it, but the way I did it was made a silhouette underneath my line art. And then I kind of broken up some of the pieces, like you can see with the cloth, from the rest of the body. And I use those 2 separate layers to kind of goof around in the gradient maps and kind of create maybe something I would think that looked pretty cool. And then, after I found a good foundation for both layers in that mapping, I went ahead on the very top of everything with a layer, and I just started to kind of, I guess, render out. Wanted the shadows to be a little darker. I kind of go back in and start, messing around with different adjustment layers, see what looks cool, a little experiment, trial, as all my pieces usually are. After I get to that foundation part of the painting, then I kind of it's all experimental from there, to seeing what looks cool. I like doing that. I don't really have a set method or a set routine I do for any one of my pieces. I always love to do experimental trials with everything, because that's the way you learn, right? So you can see that I'm like, okay, that looks like rust, that yellow I painted on there, and I'm like, we can do something with that to kind of break up that body and not have it just be, that beige brown color, give it some more interest, right? And then here's a perfect example. I was looking at some of the adjustment layers for that rust, and I came across, I think it was the divide layer, and yeah, it turned out to be like a turquoise green. I'm like, okay, that looks really cool. Almost like crustaceans or something that you see on objects that have been underwater for a while. And then I started to think, okay, well, this Vasctori, house, temple, safe, whatever you'd want to call it, maybe it was underwater at one point, and that's where this kind of unique rust looking comes from. I come to find out when I've been creating this campaign book that with each painting I've done, it almost sparks some ideas for the campaign itself, right? I'm open to having each element of idea kind of warp and shape how this campaign is going to go. I just don't limit it to just, me thinking up something. I welcome all aspects for basically contributing to the idea of the overall campaign. So, just with this simple color variation of the rust, it's like, okay, that looks underwater, that to me. So maybe we can have, once, this temple underwater. And then you see that I added some shadow, but the way it turned out looked, pretty cool to me. And a trick with shadows is when you're going to use it in a multiply layer or whatever have you to make the shadow, you double click on that layer and it'll bring up, the effect tools. And if you do like an outer glow and try to find the right color, which is your Terminator, I believe, your Terminator for your shadows, it really just makes all the difference. It really does. It makes it look so much realistic, maybe believable, I would say. Not realistic, but believable. You can start to see that I'm adding, lighter colors like that yellow on there, just to kind of different parts of, his body, and then messing around with like overlay, I think that one was, or perhaps, darken layer. I'm not sure exactly which one it was. It's all part of the trial and error. You can also notice too that I kept in the pencil drawing, the line art. I didn't want to take away from that. I wanted to keep it. A lot of people's art, digital work is so cool, but what I feel like, if they do a drawing beforehand and then go through the rendering process, you spent a lot of time on that drawing, and more, I guess, human, I suppose. It's hand drawn, right? So it's coming from you. And I just think that should be included no matter what. Whatever method you would try to keep it in there, I think it deserves that spotlight, so to say. But yeah, here it is. I do like this technique. If you did like this video and you think this looks really cool, and maybe I shared a couple tips you didn't really know about, like and subscribe, or just subscribe. You don't have to like it. I feel like that's asking too much, huh? I try to come out with videos when I can, I guess, at least 2 a month, and I hope that it brings value. I know I do a lot of time-lapse videos where it's just, awesome music and you can just watch my art progress. I always do enjoy those videos from other channels because that's the way I learn. It's just like a visual study, and then you have some awesome music. Sometimes if I don't like the music that they have, I open up a second window on YouTube and find something cool to listen to and just watch, But that'll do it for me. Enjoy the rest, and we'll see you again soon.